Hello everyone and welcome back to the Little Quilter. Today we are going to be finishing the hourglass block. So last time we talked, I was working on finishing that block, the last block of the Pas De Deux Quilt by Rachel Hauser, and I ran out of the red fabric. So I ordered the fabric super stash from Laundry Basket Quilts in red. So I got this really gorgeous red bundle of fabric here. And especially excited about this one. That one should work really well for this, and quite a few other red ones. Probably going to avoid some of these lighter ones right here. I think those are just too light, but I've got plenty to choose from here. And other than maybe one, I don't think a lot of these are repeats, which is good. So one other thing to show you is that I also ordered the backing fabric, which is this beautiful fabric right here. So I liked that it's going to be light enough, but it has those little pops of blue in there, and it's a bigger design, which I think will look nice on the back of the quilt, but not too big. And the other thing I chose was my binding, and I had a pretty tough time thinking about what type of binding I wanted to do, but I ended up going with this pretty light green shade. So I don't think that it will be too overwhelming because I didn't want to draw attention away from the quilt itself, but I thought that light color would mesh well with a lot of the border areas. Okay, so now that I've got all of that, we're ready to cut into this red fabric and get this hourglass block done and finish up sewing this Pas De Deux quilt. Let's do it. Okay, so now we are ready to jump into the main portion of sewing this. I'm so excited. It is the last block, you guys. That's so crazy to me. So I've got all of my squares. These are going to become my hourglass blocks. And so I'm going to go ahead and start pairing these up and get to sewing. Alright, so I have got these lovely little beautiful flying geese triangles done. And now we're going to move on to, I think, what's going to be the hardest part. It's sewing a bunch of triangles, and you guys know that the last time I sewed a bunch of triangles, it was really, really difficult. So hopefully I have learned from that time around, but let's go ahead and move over and jump into that. Okay, so I have just finished sewing these triangles, and so much better this time around. Look at so much better. So I used my tip that I learned last time whenever I was working on the block of lining it up with my edge tape. Okay, so I just wanted to show you guys how well this ended up. So you remember last time when I did the still point block, it was just all sorts of terribleness. And this time around, I've done so much better. So my points are way improved, and I just used my edge tape to make sure that I lined everything up so that I had that 1/4 inch, and it worked out really, really well. So of course I've got to go through and sew the rest of these together, and then I've got this row to do, which is an alternation of this one. So this one starts with the orange and then goes to the burgundy, and this one is starting with, which this is kind of an orange color, but it's going from the burgundy to the orange brown colors. All right, everybody, I have finished this block, this hourglass block, and I think that it turned out really nicely. I'm very happy with it. So, and I feel like I have conquered my triangles in sewing because this is excellent. I'm so happy with it. Right? Now, it is imperative that I use this 1/4 inch tape, seam tape. If I didn't have this, I would not be able to line it up properly, or I would have to do a bunch of marking. So this, if you're struggling doing triangles at all, I cannot recommend this enough. It's imperative, and I have shown you guys how I line it up with this on the previous video when I finally figured out what the heck I was doing, and I feel like this video has really just helped me to know that I have conquered it, and I'm so excited with how this turned out. And the colors are really beautiful. What is most exciting is the fact that that was the last block for the Pas De Deux quilt. So now I can go ahead and put everything together, which is so exciting. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump into getting that done so that we can get this quilt finished. Okay, so trying to do this right the first time around, I have got all of the hourglass blocks sewn together and I've got my rows done, but I was paying very close attention to my seams, and I made sure to line them up and pin at every single spot. That way, whenever I do this, hopefully everything's going to end up at least close enough that it is not noticeable. I'm not going to hope for perfection. We're just going to hope for it's close enough is good enough. But it would be nice if it looks really good. Alright, so I did have some difficulty with this one in that I guess my seams were, I mean, they look pretty good for 1/4 inch, in all honesty, but it was a smidge long, so I did my best to, fuss with that and get it right. But let's see what it looks like. Okay. It's not so terrible. I've pretty much consistently cut off every top on this top triangle, but that's okay. It's not the end of the world there. They at least match up, which I think is more important. I don't know. Maybe some of you guys would say it'd be more important for it to have the points, but they're close enough, I feel like, at this point. And really, it's such a busy fabric. I don't think it's going to be that noticeable in the grand scheme of things. I am excited to figure out what I'm going to quilt in this area, though. It's so pretty. And then here is the other end of that. So I've got to iron this together, and then this piece will be done. It's pulling some other pieces. So let me get to ironing it so that this is done. Alright, I just thought I would show you guys how this part came together. So this was that other triangle on the hourglass block, and I was so excited about how well I did this, and it ended up being a little bit long, just like the other one. I'm not really sure how that happened, because I really do feel like these 1/4 inch seams are really 1/4 inch seams, so I don't know. But I had to fudge it a little bit, so in the end, I think it went on nicely. The good part too is that none of these lined up, right? So they weren't supposed to line up. They're just sort of in the center. And so for the most part, they really are kind of in the center, which is nice. Now, I did have a hard time seeing these points. Whenever I was sewing them, I thought I was not hitting them. So you can see here, that's what you're looking at when you're sewing that. So maybe I should have gone a smidge to the right in order not to hit that corner. But it looked to me like I wasn't, I was just right on top of it. And it's pretty close. So they're not terrible. I'm okay with it. I think it looks fine. And my gosh, this thing is coming together nicely. So it's kind of upside down actually, but I think that I am now ready to I think I've got 2 more pieces to put together. So let's work on that. All right, guys, we are about to finish this quilt, and I apologize for hair and lack of makeup and everything, but we are about to finish this. I got up early so that I could get it done before my little kiddo wakes up, and I can't believe this is the last seam of this quilt. So let's go ahead and pin it and sew it, and then we'll lay this out and get a really beautiful overlay and see what it looks like. How exciting. Wow. So it is finally done, and I have got the hourglass block here for you guys to see. I'll move out the way. So this is how it turned out, and of course on the sides I have those strips, which I was so excited about my triangle piecing, but of course it was a little bit long, so still have to work on that. But I really thought those 1/4 inch seams were pretty darn close, so I don't know, maybe it was the actual ironing or something that stretched them, but I think they turned out looking beautiful. I can't believe it's done. So this is the Rachel Hauser Pas De Deux quilt that I started about 7 months ago. And it was a block of the month originally. So if you guys are interested in watching some of the other videos about this quilt, you're welcome to check out my channel. Otherwise, this is the Rachel Hauser Pas De Deux quilt, and it's a gorgeous, gorgeous quilt design that I have done with laundry basket fabrics by Edyta Sitar. And yeah, I have her stuff linked below, so check out both of those designers and creators. They're both wonderful, wonderful women who are making beautiful, beautiful things. And I would definitely recommend this quilt to anybody. I would recommend it to maybe not a beginner, but like sort of someone who is interested in learning and has been sewing for a little bit but hasn't done a lot. I really did learn so much on this quilt. Applique and triangles and just everything that I did with these blocks throughout the process was such a learning process in color choices and just everything. So I cannot recommend this quilt design enough to other people. Now comes the fun part of designing the quilt design on it. So if you guys have any suggestions, let me know down below. Always love to hear those. Do you think I should do a all over color thread? If I did, what color would I use? Should I change thread for every single block design? Would you do an all over pattern? Would you do custom quilting, which is where I think I want to go, custom quilting. But what custom quilting designs would you use in those? All of those things would be super, super fun to read, super fun to have a conversation about that. And as always, I hope that you guys have enjoyed this video series. It's been a long one, but we have finally completed this quilt. And I hope you all have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.